Well, if there's one thing Poles like doing, it's complaining about Poland. In fact, if they were complaining Olympics, I think Poland would be at number one. But it turns out that Poland is topping the charts in a category that I think most Poles and most people normally would not expect, which is safety. Because according to Eurostat, the EU Statistical Office, Poland is the third safest country in the EU, with only 4.4% of Poles reporting crime, violence, or vandalism in the local areas in 2019. Surprisingly enough, you'll never guess who was at 2 and 1, Lithuania and Croatia, while the EU average stood at 11%. Now, I bet you didn't know that. But actually, I remember when I was in Krakow once, and I just happened to be standing on the train station when I met two middle-aged, slightly elderly British tourists there. And I said, "Oh, what do you think of the country?" They would come on a trip. No Polish connection whatsoever. And they went, "Oh, it's so clean and it's so safe. You can walk wherever you like. It's not a problem." And I've been in the country for a few years. And I remember thinking like, yeah, you get used to it after a while. And there are areas in Warsaw, the city I live, which if you went at night and you were obviously foreign or speaking out loud in a foreign language, you might get you might be stared at, you might be looked at. But my experience of living in Poland has been one of feeling extremely safe at all times. During the recent scandals when it comes to, for example, the murder of Sarah Everard in London in the UK, very sadly killed by a serving police officer, there was a lot of talk about the things that women have to do to feel safe in the UK, messaging a friend, sharing the location, walking with keys in their hands. And at that time, I asked a few of my female Polish friends, "Do you do any of these things?" And none of them said they did. They feel safe in this country. I didn't choose to live in this country because I felt safe at the time, and had been a victim of victim crime myself, actually. So we don't want to underestimate this, but nonetheless, you can see that by the number of crimes reported, and also this statistic, which is really interesting, which is not the number of crimes reported, but the number of Poles reporting crime, the Poland just feels really safe. And the countries, by the way, coming in at the bottom, just to not, well, we want to criticize anyone, are Bulgaria at 20%, Greece at 16.9%, which surprised me, and the Netherlands at 16.3%. Germany was on 13%. So to put it from that point of view, it's almost literally 3 times less people having crime, let's say, in Poland than in the neighboring country of Germany next door. It is remarkably safe in this country. And more than once I've heard the joke, "Oh, because all the criminals have left." I think the data shows otherwise, actually. I think the data doesn't see any correlation between the accession and changes in the number of people coming and going, etc. It just feels like, despite it all, Poland is a safe country. I once worked with some people from the Philippines who'd spent some time in Warsaw, bearing in mind the Philippines has a lot of different challenges. And I said to them, what do you think of the country? And they said, "Oh, it's unbelievable." They were blown away by the level of civic obedience and the way people lived in harmony together. And there's a lot to be said for a society which has cohesion. There's a lot to be said for a society which, I don't want to say shuts its shops on Sunday, because that's not my favorite rule, but, a society that goes to church together and has the same holidays and functions together. Well, I think I've appreciated that more as I've become a father than ever before. So good on you, Poland. Keep on doing what you're doing, which is keeping your people safe, because people feel safe and the stats can't lie. This is a reputable body giving reputable data. So have you been a victim of crime, violence, or vandalism in Poland? Do you feel safe when you're on the Polish streets? Write in the comments below and I will check your comments and I'll reply to them, okay? I always write from the first news, but with Patrick. You have been watching a What's Up Poland episode, and I can't wait to see you again for another informative episode about the amazing country of Poland.